It's Thursday again, tell everybody to lock in, grab some popcorn, a drink, and go and throw your AirPods in. It's the 1 hour show, constantly speaking facts. Bulletproof stats are always shooting from Matt. And when it comes to Kyle, you getting numbers and style. Jake is gonna educate you, he has that knowledge on file. Players, step your game up, don't be sluggish or lazy. Or Jimmy J might hit you with a shaky baby. Catch him on YouTube or any podcast platform. Breaking all the news down like Shaq does the backboards. No hot takes, this is where the hottest debate's at. Now kick your feet up, cause it's time for straight facts.
What's going on, y'all? Welcome back to Straight Facts, a sports show that educates and entertains. You see where we are, back in studio in Brownstone Media in Pottstown, PA. It's your boy, Jimmy J. My guy, Stat Matt, is here with me. No Jake Galley. He's observing the high holidays, Yom Kippur, today, right, for Jake. So, happy holidays to our Jewish brother out there. So he said he couldn't make it. We were like, man, go enjoy the holiday with your family. It's funny because I knew Jake for a long time, and he's half Jewish. So I always joke with him that, like, selectively, he picks like his Jewish holidays selectively. Like, he's a Jew, but he still celebrates Christmas too. So he got this one off. We're happy to give him off for the holiday.
I remember as a kid, I was like, because you want more days off of school. I was like, well, we're Christians, so we believe the Old Testament. So how come we don't get off Hanukkah and we don't get off Passover? Then we get more days off school.
It's a interesting debate to have. It's honestly a question to have. And Jake, it's like when you have, I guess it's not like this at all, but it's like when you have two households, you get like two of everything. So Jake gets the best of both worlds, man. Celebrate the Christian holidays, celebrate the Jewish holidays. I don't blame him. More time off, more time to himself. Mm-hmm. I do the same thing too. But Stat Matt, man, how are you? Glad to see you back in studio. I've only seen you over a computer screen the last couple of weeks. How you been, man?
Everything is going great for every single one of my favorite sports teams, except the Flyers, but they're down on the list, so I don't have to worry about that. And Liverpool's really struggling too.
That's true. And it's funny.
But, Phillies clinched. Eagles 4-0. Clemson undefeated win over number 10 NC State.
Sixers looking good, right?
Sixers are the same space.
It's funny because there's a big buzz of all the Philly sports teams. Everyone's feeling good, and then the Flyers are ready. The Flyers are ready to rain on everyone's parade literally as soon as the season starts. But
the Flyers Twitter, I live among the outskirts of it. They were so mad this offseason. It was like I was like, oh, I'm so glad I'm not like diehard Flyers.
We might need you to do a stat mat, a rundown for hockey with us in one of your at the buzzers when hockey season starts. But none of those things are surprises. But we're gonna get into this episode with talking about the biggest surprises in the NFL through 4 weeks from the first quarter of the season. Now that we're 4 games in, we got to address some things that are really some head scratchers for us so far. And I think just in an overall sense, before we even really get down to the nitty gritty, just like the NFL as a whole to me is kind of surprising right now. Like, everyone's kind of jumbled up. I guess like the Eagles you would have to say, are the best team in the NFL right now, but I don't know if there's no running away team that's like top over the pack. And I don't think there's any team that's like really far behind the pack either. Like, you have the Raiders who are 1-3 and like a real struggling 1-3. But even still, like, if you can come towards the middle of the season and you see the Raiders in the middle of the pack, I don't think anyone would be totally shocked. So I think that's just kind of the surprising thing to me, is the teams that we thought would rise to the top and kind of take off from everyone haven't so far. And the teams who we thought were going to be down in the dirt by this time, we'll get to one of those teams, haven't yet either. Everyone's kind of just like in this rat race.
Yeah, so it's almost mirror what you said. I'm surprised about the NFL season. It actually kind of mirrors the end of last year, because the Rams won the Super Bowl. They weren't dominant. The Bengals made the Super Bowl. They weren't dominant. But people were still like, the vibe of that season was, oh, it's Bucks and Chiefs. It's Bucks and Chiefs. It's Bucks and Chiefs. Mm-hmm. And then the Packers had some buzz too. But then the Rams and Cincy came out of their conference. And I think the NFL's just bunched up together, and it's making it really hard to predict, which makes it really exciting.
Which is good football. Yeah, just real good football, man. You got teams like the Giants that are 3-1 and stuff like that. So let's roll into it before we get too down far into it. The first thing that we got to address that's pretty surprising is not just the Colts as a whole being, having a record that they have, right? 1-2-1, but it's the fact that they can't run the ball. Like, they have the most explosive back in the NFL last year, and they can't really get him going. Tied for 6th lowest in rushing yards per game, and Jonathan Taylor himself is tied for 32nd in yards per carry. And I think we could start off with this because to me, this kind of sets the scene and gives all of this context. Is he's only seeing a stacked box 8% of the time. A stacked box is 8 or more men in the box. He's only seeing that 8% of the time. So less than 1 of every 10 snaps, he's seeing extra defenders in the box, and they still can't run the ball. So I'm not sure, where this is going. At first, and we talked about this off camera, I wanted to blame it on Matt Ryan. Y'all know me. I want to blame it on Matt Ryan really quick, the average guy that he is, that no one's scared of Matt Ryan, so they're stacking him in the box. And you're like, no, man, they're only seeing that many defenders less than 10% of the time. So make sense of this for me, man. Why can't they run the ball?
If you look for the excuses, the regular excuses, they've been bad this season, so they've been trailing. So when they run, it's not in good situations. Right. 3 of their games have been 1-score games. 1 a 0-point game. They tied, so that's literally as close as possible. And in the game they got blown out, the Jaguars game, Taylor didn't rush for a lot of yards, but he had 9 for 54, which is a good yards per carry. I think we're seeing another victim of what the running backs don't matter crowd calls the curse of 370, where basically if you have 370 touches in an NFL season, the next year you're really going to fall off or get injured. It's
and is there proof in the pudding?
There's absolutely. Most recent example, Derrick Henry, after he runs for 2,000 yards, 5.4 yards per carry, year he runs for 2,000 yards. Next year, 4.3 yards per carry, gets hurt after 8 games. Then you look at Ricky Williams. If you just look all the way through, the only one that really curbed it in NFL history is Eric Dickerson and Barry Sanders. And
so way back when,
yeah.
Eric Dickerson in the 80s, Barry Sanders in the 90s.
It's people have come back from it the next year, but people like Eddie George actually killed their careers, and Emmitt Smith late in his career killed his career. He was kind of steady because his yards per carry were never that great. But I think Taylor's 23. He'll probably bounce back next year. And other than a curse of 370, running backs don't matter argument, just as a whole, Frank Reich's been a disaster this season.
Yeah,
and it's really hard to understand how, because he's a veteran coach at this point, and he's coached playoff teams with 2 different quarterbacks. And he almost made the playoffs with a 3rd different quarterback. And then this year, I have no clue what happened. Maybe one of his assistants DM'd the playbook to all their opponents.
Yeah, maybe.
It's it's baffling.
Or, I don't know, and this is speculation. But if your roster changes, your quarterback changes, but your game plan doesn't evolve, it doesn't update, and you try to just do the same things you did last year, just kind of completely replicate it. I mean, teams are too smart in this league to allow you to do the same things 2 years in a row in the same manner. Not saying you can't run the ball well 2 years in a row, but you can't line up and do it the same way you did the year before and think teams aren't going to adjust to it, especially when you have some defensive-minded coaches in your division, Lovie Smiths, Mike Vrabels. These are defensive-minded coaches who are going to make adjustments when it comes down to it. But why I love the fact that we're focusing on the yards per carry or the yards per – we're not just focusing on straight yards per game or the amount of yards that they have. The yards per carry is big because that shows you even on the small attempts that they're not getting it done. It's not just, he has less attempts, so he's not accumulating the yards, or Matt Ryan's throwing the ball more, or, someone's getting involved. When Jonathan Taylor gets the ball, no matter how many times he gets the ball, when he gets it, they're not as successful as they were last year on a play-to-play basis, not even close. And this is a Colts team who, under Frank Reich last year, with Carson Wentz as their quarterback, we're having success running the football. That's when they were a successful team, when they're running the football first, getting it going with Jonathan Taylor. If you don't have that, and then you don't have a good quarterback, an above-average quarterback to kind of make up for that and make things easier, nothing of your offense gets going. So I think there's a little ripple effect here that you can't run the ball with Jonathan Taylor, but then you don't have a quarterback that can make life easy for you anymore either. Because if you have a quarterback who's, stretching the defense out, even though you don't have, 8 in the box, you may still have 7 in the box. Now lanes are a little bit more spread out. People's first step is back instead of forward, and it makes life easier for your running back. But I still want to pin it on Matt Ryan somehow. There's no fear of Matt Ryan testing your defense. My instinct is to go forward and go get Jonathan Taylor. And Matt Ryan's not making anybody pay.
So I'm the Matt Ryan defender.
You are. And I'm the Matt Ryan killer.
I can't this year because it's worse than the numbers look. If you had to guess how many fumbles Matt Ryan has this year, what would you guess?
Guess how many fumbles?
Guess.
Through 4 games. Like 5?
9. He's got 9 fumbles.
And how many are lost?
It's not saying lost on Football Reference,
okay.
but
I was being nice.
You can't choose. If half were lost, so 4 or 5, that means 5 touchdowns to 10 turnovers.
Mm-hmm.
It's inexcusable that he's playing this poorly. It's worse than he played last year with worse weapons.
Mm-hmm. Nothing's being tested. Like you still have Michael Pittman. Like you still have these good receivers and these good weapons out there. And right now he's averaging negative 2.3 air yards to sticks, which is 4th worst in the NFL. And that means to our listeners and to our viewers is that just means a whole lot of checkdowns, a whole lot of underneath throws, and nothing going down the field, nothing stretching a defense to make something easier for your all-pro running back. And granted, sometimes, a little of this is on Jonathan Taylor too, because sometimes a running back's got to create his own holes. Mm-hmm. Sometimes a running back's got to create his own spaces. Not every time you touch the ball, you're going to have immaculate running lanes. So I guess, a little of this falls on Jonathan Taylor, but, things are starting to fall apart. Jonathan Taylor's hurt. Quentin Nelson went down this past week. So
there's hope for the Colts in the sense that you can recover from 4.0 yards per carry through 4 games. If he ends at 4.6, that's not out of the if he has a really good run.
4.0 is nothing to
that's bad. It's more about what it's from.
Yeah.
I remember after LaShawn McCoy's best rushing season, he averaged 2.4 yards per carry for the first 5 games. What's going on? And then he finished at 4.1, mm-hmm. and but the rest of the season was great. So we could see that from Taylor, where the rest of the season is just last year. And the second thing they have going for them is that they're in the worst division in football.
Yeah.
Their division is atrocious. There's no team that you can rely on. Somehow Matt Ryan has more fumbles than the guy who fumbled 4 times last week. So
yeah, things is just
and their division opponent says I'm so thankful I'm just so thankful as a Matt Ryan defender that he's not buried, and I can still hold on to a little bit of hope that he can. Jump in a time machine and get this team to the playoffs with an 8-1 record.
You are holding on to something special. Whatever confidence you got in Matt Ryan, I want in myself. But it is interesting that Matt Ryan is kind of escaping heat right now. I don't hear a whole lot of hate. I don't hear a whole lot of buzz, a lot of blame going towards Matt Ryan for the run game or the Colts in general.
I think in general people like Matt Ryan, so they don't want to people didn't dislike. There were no negative Carson Wentz stories till you heard rumblings. A couple people in the locker room don't like him, and then everywhere he went, negative Carson Wentz. So there's just some people that people don't like and they're ready to bury immediately when they have their first bad game.
I guess
Matt Ryan is it just isn't one of those people.
Well, I don't know how he keep getting saved.
Baker, immediate criticism.
Oh yeah, well he deserved it. Come on, man. But and here's the thing. This could right itself and the Colts could still not turn it around. The run game could turn around and the Colts couldn't, don't end up winning the division or turning the season around. But it does not happen. Nothing goes well for the Colts until this running game fixes itself. So
remember,
that's the thing.
This is the team that beat the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah, this is nuts, right? Yeah, we're talking about them like they didn't just beat the Chiefs 2 weeks ago or a week and a half ago.
Yeah, they're the reason the Eagles are the only undefeated team. Because
that's actually pretty nuts. That's actually pretty nuts. All right, we will move on because it's just as surprising as the Colts beating the Chiefs. Let's go to that NFC East, man, because a division that people were clowning, were saying that we're going to have many good teams in it, has 3 teams with 3+ wins, including the last undefeated team in the NFL. Somehow, some way, the Giants are 3-1, and the Cowboys, despite losing Dak Prescott in the first game of the season, are 3-1 under Cooper Rush. So, Stat Matt, this is your time to shine. break down how the Cowboys and the Giants got to their 3-1 records. Objectively.
I'll start with the good team. Unfortunately, they're a good team, and I'm just really annoyed that they're 3-1.
Right.
And that's the Dallas Cowboys. Their defense is great.
Yeah.
Like they played Tampa Bay and they played Cincy back-to-back games. So that's Joe Burrow, Tom Brady didn't allow 20 points to either team. And then they play Daniel Jones and Carson Wentz. Of course, it's going to go well for them. Everyone's talking about Cooper Rush. This defense, 19, 17, 16, 10. Those are the points allowed.
Mm-hmm.
It's a tough test. The next 2 games are going to really test Cooper Rush, and it's the first defensive test for the team since, well, on paper, the Rams are a defensive test. So far this year, they're not. We'll get there. Mm-hmm. And then the best offense in football statistically and the best record in football, and the Eagles on the road and back-to-back. And then even the Lions' best scoring offense in football.
Right.
So it's Cooper Rush has been a perfect backup. Nothing crazy, but no turnovers. 2 game-winning drives. They're a Mike McCarthy team. And what people don't remember about Mike McCarthy is that he doesn't collapse until the playoffs happen. He's the Jason Garrett buff version. So it's like Jason Garrett.
The buff version.
Jason Garrett collapses in December. McCarthy collapses in January. So Cowboys went 12-5 last year. That's a lot of wins in a football season. Mm-hmm. That's as many as the Rams won, and they won the Super Bowl. Anyway. They're going to compete with the Eagles the rest of the way for the division title.
Okay, now
the other team is the Giants. They stink. They're a bad football team. They're 3-1.
Yo, you got to give this up, man.
They're just not good. I'm going to concede one thing. I'm pretty sure I'm wrong. I'm like the wrongest I've ever been about Saquon. I'm pretty sure.
Thank you. Because that's where I was going next.
But Saquon had great seasons for the Giants, and they sucked.
Okay, but now he's having a good season for them, and they're good. So
no, they've played nobody. They haven't played anybody good at football. They're not a good team. When they played a good team, they got embarrassed by the Cowboys at home. When Cooper Rush outplays your starting quarterback, and your quarterback, they beat the Bears by 1 score. The Bears stink. I know the Bears would have been 3-1. They beat the Panthers by a field goal at the end. They beat the Titans because the Titans missed a field goal at the end.
They beat the Titans, yeah. But that one you cannot that's the team you love to remind everyone was the number 1 team.
Yeah, but they stink this year. They stink this year. Look at the Giants' next teams. Packers lost. Ravens lost. Jaguars lost. Seahawks.
That could be another high-scoring game that the Seahawks just had.
They're better than I thought. I thought they were one of the worst teams in football. Turns out they're the bad team that beats the other bad teams to inflate their record. So they'll finish with a record that's like maybe 8-9, but they're not a good team.
Sometimes the best bad team sneaks into the playoffs, man. Especially with an extra wild card. Sometimes the best bad team sneaks into the playoffs. Yeah, the Bears 2 years ago, or the best bad, or 3 years ago.
Yeah, they went 8-8.
Yeah, the best bad team to sneak into the playoffs.
So, and the Eagles last year didn't beat anyone good.
Best bad team to sneak into the playoffs.
But Daniel Jones has an 81.9 passer rating. Saquon's been great, but this is not sustainable. If they play at the level they're playing at right now, and I'm just going to go back to my good old friend DVOA.
Go ahead.
They're going to be a bad team because right now they rank 23rd in DVOA, which makes sense. It's exactly where I predicted them to be. I thought they'd be 29th, but no, they're beating the 29th and 30th and 32nd and the 24th teams. Dallas is 6th. Eagles are 2nd. Dallas is what I'm afraid of. We play the Giants twice. I'm not even when I think of Dallas, I think, when are they on the schedule? When do I have to prep for my mentality? And the Giants, if we don't beat them, we don't deserve to be good. I'm still in that mentality. I'm not worried about it.
So there's no legitimacy to the contending of the Giants. The Cowboys, yes.
So
but not the Giants.
Contending, no, because there's too many teams in the NFC that are just. There's no way. I'm not the biggest Cardinals guy, but the Cardinals will make the playoffs before the Giants do. Everyone in the NFC West, except maybe Seattle. Seattle and the Giants have same tier. But NFC South is weak, I guess. And but even I would pick the Lions over the Giants in a one-off game.
I'm not. Look, on paper, yes. the Packers should beat the Giants. I'm not sure that the Giants don't go into Lambeau and upset the Giants or upset the Packers. I'm sorry. I'm not sure. They just went to overtime with a third string quarterback yesterday.
Yeah,
right? But I mean,
the Packers are weird, but they're going to beat the Giants. Look what the
Giants are playing better football than the Patriots right now, and the Packers barely beat the Patriots. They're playing, but they are.
I don't think the Giants are playing good football.
One side of the ball is. One side of the ball is definitely playing good football. Maybe Daniel Jones isn't playing great.
They did,
but their offense is not bad.
Winning on the road against the Titans, I'll get that's an impressive win. Even though the Titans have collapsed this year, that's an impressive win. Even Titans had a field goal to win the game and they missed. But beating the Panthers by 3, no, that's not impressive.
Doesn't give you anything.
Losing the Cowboys at home, not impressive.
By 1 score.
Beating the Bears by 8 when the Bears have no offense at all is not impressive.
Bears are a scrappy team. They have 2 wins this year, and all their games have been scrappy. All their games.
They got blown out by the Packers.
Yeah, that one was not scrappy. But losing to the Cowboys by 1 score isn't like you just went off about the Cowboys. You just went off about how impressive they've been
at home with a backup quarterback who's better than their actual quarterback. If you put Cooper Rush on the Giants, I'd have a higher opinion of the Giants.
Just trying to get you to look at what the Giants are doing objectively, and there's a different way they're operating about the offense this year under Brian Daboll, and I don't think I think a 3-1 isn't a fluke. I think a 3-1 is an indication this is a better football team than they've been in past years.
They're better coached. It's a good starting point for future seasons.
And your all-pro running back is back. That's not anything to scoff at.
The Eagles, the first year of Peterson, I saw inklings that they'd be a good team in the future. They started hot. They were 3-0. They finished 7-9. That could be the Giants this year. They're not a playoff team. They're absolutely not going to make the playoffs.
We'll check tape on this and go back. But then we got to get to the only undefeated team in the division, your Philadelphia Eagles. They've been good. We've been really good on both sides of the ball. We've talked about them in the past 2 episodes. So I know you'd love to hear it and yap on them even more. We don't have to spend a ton of time on them. But I think it is worth noting that, when you have the NFC East being the best division in football right now, and the Eagles being at the top of that, and have a real command on that division. I don't think that's what too many people predicted coming into this year. It may not be completely surprising, but I don't think a whole lot of too many majority of people predicted that result after 4 weeks for the Eagles to be 4-0 in this kind of fashion in division. So it's a kudos to y'all. And then so your upcoming schedules at Arizona. Dallas at home, have a bye week. Pittsburgh at home, and at Houston. When do you expect the loss? Those are the next 5 weeks, 4 games in 5 weeks. Do you expect the loss?
On paper, I go into every game thinking we should win those games. If it's at Dallas, I think that's the loss.
What is that home?
But it's we always lose to Dallas. We haven't won a game against. We always lose to Dallas, except we've really struggled against Dallas in games that matter. Last year we got swept by them. The second game didn't matter. In 2020, we got swept by the only time we beat them was with Nick DiNucci playing quarterback.
Yeah, Ben
DiNucci. It's just really, we're not going to win all those games. We're going to go 3-1. One Philly team will beat the Cardinals this weekend. It won't be the Eagles. There we go.
I don't see you losing to Arizona. The Cardinals don't scare me. They have, I guess, their impressive win, impressive comeback win was good, but they don't scare me at all. Dallas at home, I think you get Dallas at home, and then we'll see later in the season when you go to Dallas what happens when they get Dak Prescott back and everything. Bye week, but you go against back-to-back good defenses. You go against Dallas, have a bye week, and then you go against Pittsburgh comes into town. You go against Pittsburgh.
Not worried about Pittsburgh at all.
I don't think you should be worried about on the offensive side. I think you should be worried about on the defensive side.
We have just swallowed bad quarterbacks, other than Jared Goff, all season.
Yeah, Kenny Pickett shouldn't scare you. Kenny Pickett shouldn't scare you.
Like,
and depending on who's after the Texans, don't go into Houston. Ask the Colts.
Well, then it's Carson Wentz, and then it's Matt Ryan, and then it's the Packers week 12.
So after Houston is the Commanders.
Yeah.
So don't get hung up on the Commanders and go into Houston thinking it's sweet. Ask the Colts.
Fun fact, the Philadelphia Eagles have never lost to a Houston football team. They're undefeated against the Houston Oilers and undefeated against the Houston Texans.
I mean, the Texans don't surprise me. I don't know.
There are a couple of years where the Texans were favored. There's a game where Nick Foles got hurt and Mark Sanchez had a comeback win.
There you go. All right, we'll move on to the next surprising thing in the NFL. You alluded to it, but it might be the most surprising, single most surprising thing in the NFL right now. And I don't even think too many people know about it because it's just not something that you would predict. The Lions are the number one offense in the NFL right now. I'll say it again because a bunch of people probably didn't hear me. You might have thought your podcasting app skipped a little bit, or that I froze or said something I didn't mean to. The Detroit Lions are the number one offense in the NFL. They have the most points scored this year in the NFL, but are only 1-3. But here's the caveat. Also 32nd in points allowed. And to me, that goes hand in hand. They're the number one offense because they're the worst defense. And if I'm giving up 40 points, I got to score 40 to give myself a fighting chance. And when you look at a Lions team, they will never go away. I want to give Dan Campbell so much props for just instilling fight in his team. He does not have a good roster. He doesn't. He's got some good individual players. He's got a good running back. He's got a breakout wide receiver.
Tight end.
Got a good tight end. I like Jeff Okudah on defense too. And Aiden Hutchinson looks like he's doing all right. So he's got but as a team, they're not that good. But they will not ever go away. They showed it in week 1 against y'all. They've shown it in previous weeks. They only have one win under their belt. But man, this is a scrappy team. So when he says, when we get knocked down, we're going to get back up and take part of your kneecap, he means that. When it's late in the game and you go score on the Lions and you make it a 10-point game, they're going to score and make it a 3-point game, or at least kick a field goal and make it a 4-point or make it a 7-point game again. They will hang with you every single time. They're going to make a key mistake here or there to give you an extra possession so you win the game. That's what the Lions do. But they will not go away. So to me, them being the number one offense in the NFL is because they get up off the canvas every time and give another punch. They're gonna do it. It's really impressive. I gotta.
If you're a Lions fan, you have to appreciate this team.
Yeah.
You're annoyed. All your losses are by 1 score. 4 to the Vikings, 3 to the Seahawks, 3 to the Eagles. You did score Gami last week, which was nice.
There you go.
When you're doing a rebuild, you can only do one thing at a time. They clearly did. Okay, Hutchinson's defense, but everything else, we're going to work on tooling, the offensive system, because last year can't happen. Because if we're going to be bad, we still need to sell tickets and be entertaining.
You got to score. Yeah, got to be entertaining. Yes, you still got to score points. I agree.
So Jared Goff,
can't blame the goofball.
This might be the perfect role for Jared Goff in his career. The quarterback that's good enough to put up great numbers on a bad team. He's like the NBA player who averages 30 for the Kings. He's not good, but you respect he's doing that on the Kings.
Well, you know why this is great for Jared Goff? Because the team stinks. On the Rams, you have to win games. You can't just put up good numbers. You have to win these games. On the Lions, win or lose, if you throw for 300 yards, boy, I'm not expecting you to really win. But if you throw for 330, 2 touchdowns, 1 or less interceptions, it's yeah, good job. I don't really care if you won. So this is where Jared Goff needs to live. You're right. This is a sweet spot for him, a coach who's going to have his back and have confidence in him no matter what goofy things that he does. So go ahead. And he leads the league in passing TDs right now. Best passer rating since the last Pro Bowl season with the Rams in 2018 for him. So, we're watching the extremely goofy movie right now, and I'm happy for him. You're happy for him.
I'm really happy for him. People clown on him so much.
I love clowning him.
He made a Super Bowl. This is the guy who made a Super Bowl. It's hard to make a Super Bowl.
The Rams made the Super Bowl.
No, but Goff wasn't bad on that team.
He was a Pro Bowl that year. Yeah.
Goff had a good year. When Cooper Kupp went out, it got kind of rough.
It got spooky.
But he had a comeback win on the road against the Saints in the NFC title game. I know they got lucky at the end on the other end, but that wasn't Goff. But he played horrible in the Super Bowl, which is why people clown him for that year. But he was a really good. If the Rams don't draft Jared Goff, they don't win the Super Bowl last year.
Yeah, everything's a ripple effect, right? Because they got to trade for Matt Stafford and everything, right? So, how much is this sustainable? I think that's the question for a lot of these surprising things: is how sustainable is this? There is no way that come week 16, 17, 18, that the Lions are the number one offense in the NFL still, because if they are, that means they're near the top of the division. You can't stay the number one offense unless you stay the 32nd ranked defense. That's the only way that this is sustainable to me. There's no way.
They're not going to set the NFL points record, which they're on pace to do.
Yikes.
That's
crazy.
That's put the fear in your eyes.
Yeah, that's because that's like I think the rest of the NFL would really have to evaluate itself, especially if they're not good. Like if they're just putting up all these points and not winning games.
It's like when Sam Bradford broke the completion percentage record.
It's like, what is football? Like what is football?
But they're also better than their record. 4 games, it's a harsh 2-2 to 1-3. I do think they're like a slightly below 500 team. I don't think they're like a 4-win team, or a 2 or 3-win team. I think they're closer to 500 than they are to no wins.
I don't think they don't catch the Packers. I don't think they catch the Vikings.
No.
So
they're better than the Bears.
You think they finish better than the Bears?
I think they're better than the Bears.
Wow. I think that's a look. If they finish better than the Bears, I might have to move my building something from the Jets to the Lions because that's a step in the right direction. All right. Speaking of steps,
DVOA, Detroit, 18th. Right in the middle.
Right in the middle, literally almost dead center in the middle of the pack. Go ahead, Lions. Go ahead for your bad selves. Speaking of taking steps in the right direction, this team looks like it's taking steps in the wrong direction. The last surprising thing that we have to get to is that the Rams are tied for third least amount of passing TDs in the NFL. After having an offense that set the world on fire last year, they really can't seem to get it going. Most interceptions in the NFL. The running game has also struggled, 4th worst in yards per carry. It's just, and then the culmination of it was watching them struggle to do anything against the Niners on Monday night. So, like, where are we at with the Rams right now?
They need a quarterback like Jared Goff.
I almost shut the podcast off. No way.
No. That's obviously it's wildly disrespectful to Stafford. He's played poorly this year, but they're just a one-person oriented pass offense. It's like Cooper Kupp, and that's not sustainable.
It's not good. Cooper Kupp is on pace to smash the single season receptions record, right? I think the record is 120 something.
No, it's 140 something by Michael Thomas,
and he's on pace for like 170,
yeah.
which is not a good thing. And I don't even know if it was a great thing when Michael Thomas was doing it with the Saints. Because
he's on pace for 168 through 16 games, so definitely 170.
Yeah, he got one more game. So like that is like I don't think that's a good thing in their offense right now. And everyone's screaming that they need to go and sign Odell Beckham Jr. and get him back. And the reason why they're screaming that, and another pat on the back to Straight Facts, because we said this in the offseason, we highlighted the number 2 receiver in the Rams offense,
Allen Robinson,
and he stinks right now.
That's a tough call by Jake.
I thought was that Jake or me?
I think it was Jake.
I'll give Jake the blame because he's not here. That might have been me for breakout player. It was me because he was Gabe Davis.
But Jake felt like really high. I thought he was like Jake set over unders, and I was slightly under. Jake was way over, and you were over regular.
I was regular over.
Yeah. But like,
and I mean, look, he's just bust is harsh. Because the Rams' offense as a whole isn't good. If the Rams' offense was better and their team was better and he was thinking, I would say he's a bust. But a number 2 receiver is very dependent on how your offense is going. But in that same breath, like we highlighted the combination of Robert Woods, Van Jefferson, and Odell Beckham Jr. last year for the Rams and how it was great. And asked, can Allen Robinson come in and fill that void? And he's just not. He ranks 144th out of 145 wide receivers in getting separation. So he's not even getting open. So if I'm Matt Stafford, I'm not even looking your way because you're not getting separation. Now, what's the dude's name? Skaransky something? Yeah, now he's getting targets because you won't get open. And Cooper Kupp on Monday night had 14 catches, his career high. And it wasn't a good thing. That man was gassed. Like, you could see him in the game. He's having to catch the ball in double, triple coverage because Matt Stafford's like, I got one place to go.
And it makes it so you can't run Cooper Kupp screens, which are so lethal because he doesn't have the legs, because he's killing himself trying to get a sliver open on every single play because no one else will.
And there's a difference between, like, getting 14 catches a game, like the Michael Thomas style on slant or when you're wide open. Cooper Kupp is working.
They're running wide receiver option routes. Like, he has to, like, think about which way the defender's positioned.
Extra steps. This is Matt Stafford keeping the play alive and him having to, find the hole in the defense. This is, 7-second plays that he's getting open on. So it's taking a lot out of him to do it. So Like this is what is so pivotal for the Rams is they need to get that complimentary receiver going and just take pressure off of Cooper Kupp so that he can find these more one-on-one matchups. I can't definitively say this stat, but I believe I heard it either on the broadcast or on Twitter that Cooper Kupp saw either double coverage or a safety over top of him like every snap. Like there was not one snap where Cooper Kupp was one-on-one on an island on the other side of the ball. He either had two in his face or there was a safety over top for a security blanket. And I will take my chances one-on-one with everyone else. Now, the Niners have such a good pass rush that I can have two safeties over top, rush four, and still think that someone's going to get home, which they did. But I think that's a recipe for most teams. It's like, hey, man, I'll let Stafford sit back there in the pocket. He's not going to run. Right? I have no threat that Matt Stafford's going to take off and run for 40 yards. So let him sit in the pocket. Let him scan the field. That's just going to make Cooper Kupp try to run around and get open fast. Well, make him run around more and try to get open. I have two safeties over top to blanket this coverage. And the next person you got to throw it to is the little white guy with hair running out of the back of his helmet. And cool, if he gets 6-7 catches, cool. He's not going to hurt us. He's not going to threaten us. So to me, that's where it's going. But the big question, is it sustainable? Or is this going to
Allen
keep
Robinson
going?
is not Allen Robinson. His legs are gone. His last 17 games played, Allen Robinson. So that's 13 for the Bears, 4 for the Rams. It's full season, 49 catches, 542 yards, 2 touchdowns. That's rough.
13 of those are with Mitch Trubisky as his quarterback. Let's give a caveat.
I know.
Let's give it. Oh, no, not. I'm sorry. That's Justin Fields. It's last year, right?
Yeah.
It's Justin Fields and Andy Dalton.
Yeah.
Okay, I still give him a little caveat. Justin Fields and Andy Dalton.
I get it. But 12 yards, 53, 23, 7 yards. It's brutal. And Stafford's taking sacks because of it, too.
Yeah.
He's been sacked on 9.6% of his dropbacks, which would be a career high for him. And He played in Detroit.
And this isn't an offense this isn't like the Tennessee offense.
A career high since 2011, I think.
This isn't like the Tennessee offense where they're only throwing the ball, 20, 25 times a game. So
no, actually, it would be a career high. I just assumed the year when they went.
But my point is, this isn't like the Titans offense where you're throwing the ball 20 to 25 times, so targets are limited. This is a guy at Stafford who dropped back, I believe, close to 40 times on Monday. So the targets are there. You just got to get open and you got to help your offense out. So we're gonna see if the Rams can really do that. Before we move on to our second segment,
I just want to say Dallas next week that's where they need to perform. It's gonna be in LA, but that's gonna be Dallas fans. That's what happens in LA games.
And here's the thing: is I have one of the most ball hawking corners who's going to be on Cooper Kupp all game, and a nasty pass rush in the Cowboys. If you can't get right. Them boys are going to make you
gotta get right. Come on.
Them boys are going to make you pay. Well, before we move on to our second segment, I want to throw in an honorable mention, most surprising, because I feel like I have to wear an L a little bit on this one. That Jimmy Garoppolo is still winning games. That's one of the most surprising things to me. Watching Jimmy Garoppolo play makes me feel like I don't know anything about football. It really does. It really does. Because, listen, Matt, name me one thing Jimmy Garoppolo does, really good.
There isn't anything.
There is nothing that he does that is, better than the rest, except not screwing up.
Handsome.
Sure. There you go. Sure. I'll give him that one. But, he don't have legs. He don't have a crazy arm. I guess he's smart, but no one picks out his quarterback IQ as something that's, above the charts. His ball placement isn't crazy. It's not he doesn't have a crazy deep ball. The arm strength isn't there. And I'm so, but why?
But you're missing the flip side. He isn't bad at anything either.
And I guess that's what it is. People should want more of Jimmy G. More quarterbacks like Jimmy G is what I should say.
That's why people like Kyle Shanahan like him, because they feel like they can mold him like a piece of clay.
Yes, I can do anything. I can do anything around him because he's just gonna stay like this. Mm-hmm. He's not gonna try to get too crazy when the offense gets crazy. So I can move Debo this, that, and third and tell Jimmy, don't veer. Just keep doing what you were doing. Don't mind Debo. Debo's gonna be over there. He's gonna be behind you. He's gonna be next to you. Don't mind him. You just keep playing, Jimmy G. And he does it. And he does it. And And so for a person who spends a lot of time really confused about Jimmy G, so I don't like him as a quarterback, at some point, I gotta face the music because he's kind of handling it, no pun intended, like a G. He had an entire video saying goodbye to 49ers fans. They played it in the stadium. Kyle Shanahan got up the day after in a press conference and said, we are moving on from Jimmy Garoppolo. He is on the trading block. Come get him, is what he literally said to us. Come get him. He's on the trading block. They didn't move him. He worked out separate from the Niners, didn't go to training camp, didn't go to preseason. And then they called him when Trey Lance got hurt and said, hey, guess what? You're starting. And he said, okay, buckled his chin strap, figured out the playbook, and went and beat the defending Super Bowl champions.
On prime time.
I don't know anything about it. I was literally watching that game I don't know football.
The Saints dropped the ball. They didn't have – why wouldn't you trade for –
No, there's a bunch of teams that dropped the ball.
No, but why would you stick with Jameis Winston over Jimmy G?
The Panthers traded for Baker Mayfield before Jimmy G. There's a bunch of teams that in hindsight, Jimmy G was the answer, not whatever you thought. Imagine if the Colts.
But the Panthers can't contend. The Saints, if they had the right.
Here's a better one. The Colts went and got Matt Ryan instead of Jimmy G. Now imagine if the Colts have Jimmy G. Things might look a little bit different.
Commanders.
He's never going to lose you the game. He's never going to lose you the game. It is unbelievable. Jimmy G, you are literally blowing my mind. Congrats to you, man. All right. We'll move on to the second part of our episode, bringing this back. Haven't done this since week 1 or since episode 1 of season 3. Speaking facts, it's always a great one. We got to see what people are saying out there. The first one comes from Marcus Spears on NFL Live. He said this about Patrick Mahomes. When it comes to playing quarterback, we got to stop doing Mahomes like we do LeBron James. We keep finding someone that is better, or keep trying to find someone that is better, I should say. Pat Mahomes is that dude, and I think we forget. Stat Matt is Swagoo speaking facts.
Absolutely.
1,000%.
This is the Bucs defense so far this year. They gave up 3 points to Dak Prescott.
Low-key best defense.
They gave up 10 points to Jameis. Mm-hmm. They gave up 14 points to Aaron Rodgers.
And 2 or more turnovers in all those games.
And they gave up 41 to Kansas City. This is just Pat Mahomes.
Coming into that game, they were, to me, the best defense in the NFL. Points-wise, turnover-wise, dominant-wise. And Pat Mahomes ran around, did a jump spin, and flicked the ball in the back of the end zone for a touchdown on them, and made my defense look silly. So where I want to point out what Swagoo is doing is, like LeBron James, when you get so used to someone dominating in ways that no one can replicate, because that's what it is. He's dominating in ways that no one can replicate. So you start to move him to the side, so you find guys that make more sense. And that's what people did with LeBron.
Ooh, look at Josh Allen.
Yeah, look at, you know what I mean? Look at other guys who are doing it.
Joe Burrow, Lamar Jackson, Justin Herbert.
Normal-ish guys.
Is Justin Herbert the best quarterback in the division?
No! Love Josh Allen. He might win MVP this year. Is Josh Allen the best quarterback in the league? No! No one is the best quarterback in the league besides Patrick Mahomes until Patrick Mahomes decides he's not.
It's an all-time revenge game by Mahomes, too.
Yeah.
The team that beat him in the Super Bowl when he had no chance to win because of how decimated his O-line was. 2 years later, it's still a great defense, whatever at the time they play, and whatever happens the rest of the year. And then he puts up 41 on them and does that touchdown, the spin move. That's embarrassing. That's embarrassing. That's like a LeBron. This is like a LeBron where he dunks on the Celtics for beating him, in the regular season, and he embarrasses them in the playoffs. It's just, it's, but he's quiet about it, so people don't. He's normal. He's a generic video game style pumped. He's never he never does anything controversial.
Right.
He's just the standard.
Well, I mean,
and we need to treat him like the standard.
The standard, and then this is in sports a lot. We can move on after this, but people want to be the one to find the next one so quickly. Mm-hmm. So when Pat's dominating, someone's trying to look past him so they can call that Josh Allen was the next winner. So they can call that Justin Herbert was the next one. Instead of realizing that, one, it's not like this dude is old. He's 26, 27. He's still got so much more to go. And while you're busy looking past him to see who's doing it next, he's still doing all worldly things, historic things right now. So you can be busy trying to find the next one. You're going to miss the greatness that Patrick Mahomes is still doing. It's called taking greatness for granted. And Swagoo is right on the nose with how people did it to LeBron and how they're doing it to Patrick Mahomes. But with all that being said, if he goes and wins a Super Bowl this year, he's right back in the forefront of everybody's mind. And Josh Allen moves right below him again. So looks like we might be headed that way. The next one we'll get to, ESPN's Jeff Passan, baseball insider, said this: Aaron Judge's 62 home runs is a remarkable achievement. Barry Bonds' 73 home runs is the record. There's nothing else left to discuss. I will go first and say that Jeff Passan is speaking facts, because if you want to be honest with yourself about a sports fan, the steroid era in baseball was entertaining. It was great. People flocked to the sport. It set records. It had everyone going great. So yes, you can take a performance-enhancing drug. Yes, you could take a steroids. 73 home runs is ridiculous. And also getting walked twice as more than anybody else in history in that same season and still getting to 73 is ridiculous. So I love that Aaron Judge is getting the accolades. I love that he's going to go into record books. 62 is amazing. To me, it's not the home run record. The single season home run record belongs to Barry Bonds with 73 home runs. Yes, that's that. I don't feel the need to discuss it. Go ahead.
So the home run record does belong to Barry Bonds with 73 single season home run.
Glad we can agree there.
There's a lot to discuss.
I knew you were going to go off the bat.
Because everyone likes to, looking back at the steroid era is very different from remembering what it was when everything came out. And
true.
Because when everything came out, it's not like, oh, they cheated the game. Oh, they're getting shots from shady trainers and stuff. They're going to Florida to get these. It's the stuff oh, I want to be like Barry Bonds. I want to make the majors. I'm a high school 17-year-old.
Yeah,
I'm going to ruin my body permanently. And it's we have no clue how many kids did that because they wanted to make the majors and be like Barry or be like McGuire or be like Sosa. But it's 73 is a record, but it's a tainted record. It's if you look at the
we can be in the middle there.
Because I view it as Judge is a clean record, Bonds is the tainted record. So if you just look at baseball history from 1877 to 1997, so that's 120 years.
Okay.
2 people had 60 home runs. That happened twice.
And when the TV didn't have color on it. That's
1997 there was color on TV.
It
goes all the way to 97.
That's Hank.
This goes Mike Schmidt. This goes Hank Aaron. There's a lot. It's everyone. It's Willie Mays. It's all of them. And then 1998 to 2001, 6 times. 6 times. And then from 2002.
People juicing, man. Let them get back on the juice.
Then from 2002 to today, it's once and it's Judge.
Mm-hmm.
It's so obvious what happened.
Right.
It's a shame that we don't know what Bonds would have put up clean. That's what I really wish.
Oh, he still would have been up there.
But what would he have gotten 65? What do you got? We don't know.
But my argument to this, Matt, is what has baseball been trying to do for the past, I'd say, I'll keep it to 5, but I really think it's closer to a decade now. What have they been trying so hard to do in the MLB to make it more exciting?
Well, they juiced the balls.
They're trying to get more runs on the board.
Yeah, but the juice ball, they toned it down a bit.
They juiced the ball, they toned it down a bit. There's something different in the bats. You can't tell me anything otherwise. Now, in extra innings, there's a runner on second, so we can get a run across the board. So we're not this many long. They're like every other league in the world. They're leaning towards offense. And okay. If you don't just lean into it. If you want a full cannonball back into offense, baseball, you know what to do. If you want a full cannonball back into offense, you know what to do. That's all. They know.
But it's different when baseball making the decision to do it versus the player.
Well, I mean,
because if you're trying to compete in the majors in 1999, you have to decide whether you're going to take drugs that are going to mess up your body in your future, not just in the funny ways that people remember, but
his head shrinking and stuff.
But really
yeah, no, seriously.
McGuire says he feels the pain every day of his mistake, and it's
hormonal imbalance and stuff.
Or are you going to miss out on a $10 million raise because you decided to stay clean. And it's when everyone's on the same playing field, it's fair. If everyone's playing with juice balls in a season, like obviously it's kind
give
of
steroids to everybody.
Some people play in tiny ballparks. Yankee Stadium's right field is stupid.
Don't get me started.
But like that's not the player's fault.
No. So give steroids access to everyone. Give everybody access to steroids.
There's a tainted record and there's an untainted record.
Your part of him not speaking facts is there's nothing left to discuss.
Yes.
That's the only part of it. If he would have ended that Barry Bonds' home run record is 73, you would have been okay with it.
He also knows he wasn't speaking facts because after that, I just saw on ESPN he wrote an article about this tweet. Basically,
I'm actually surprised that he said there's nothing left to discuss because he's an ESPN baseball insider and he knows all this. This isn't like a media head or someone like us on a pod saying there's nothing left to discuss. Like Jeff Passan knows all the ins and outs, all the dirty details of the steroid era. So like. And
he was big on the Astros cheating scandal, too.
And you're right. He literally discussed it further, so he knows that they're speaking facts. Next one we'll move to is Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, who whenever he says something about like a new age player, it's usually some sort of hate. So let's see what he says. This time he says Kyrie Irving would be dismissed as a comical buffoon if it weren't for his influence over young people who look up to athletes. He said that. Stat Matter, he's speaking facts.
Absolutely.
Right.
Kyrie Irving is like a really upsetting person.
Polarizing.
It's real upsetting that he exists when he can spread his thoughts publicly. Mm-hmm. Like if he played in the 90s and he could just have you'd hear like rumors about him reading these cuckoo books.
Yeah.
It'd be like kind of funny and quirky, but like the Alex Jones thing is like that's like you cannot do that. Like that's
you haven't gotten over that.
Kareem was one of the biggest people in fighting for civil rights in that time period in the 60s and 70s, and like he's a great ambassador for the game, and like I don't care that he punched someone in 1973 and then he apologized for it. Like if you side with Kyrie Irving over Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, I have just no clue why.
In what though?
In this argument about like Kareem specifically also said like he should get his sponsors should like stop supporting Kyrie because of what he did.
But he didn't say anything. He just reposted it. And I don't want to justify him reposting it at all. It was terrible, horrible. Everyone who knows about Alex Jones and knows about the post would say the same thing. I'm very disappointed that he reposted stuff like that. But he didn't double down. He didn't go on and say like, there was probably knowing Kyrie, there was like one line in there that Alex Jones said that he agrees with. So he reposted it. Not the overall narrative.
He's trying to get attention. I think Kyrie is dumb, but he's smart. He's smart enough to know that posting that will get like a lot of attention.
And that's why he doesn't say anything afterwards. Just post it. It's like
the sponsor thing is a different argument because I don't know. A
sponsor thing. Now, if he came out and said, "I share the same views as this guy," yeah, sponsors drop him. But he didn't say anything.
So, but that's why I didn't. This is the current quote I picked because he would be he would be dismissed as a comical buffoon if it weren't for his influence.
So
and he would the flat Earth, the Alex Jones, the anti-vax.
Yeah, the flat Earth they didn't start off right, and then said NASA didn't know what they were talking about. Like it's tough, but Kareem, the concept is speaking facts. The verbiage I don't agree with. I think he would be looked at as a comical buffoon if he wasn't all world at basketball. And maybe that ties into his influence on young people who look up to athletes because he's one of the best point guards in the NBA. But him saging the court and his stance on stuff and the way he moves and his views and how he carries himself, people would laugh at him every day if he didn't drop 50 on your favorite team. He missed half the season last year. Came back in the first game, Matt, what'd he do? He dropped 50 in the first game that he played after or that 2 seasons ago, after missing so amount of time. So you can laugh at him until he laces up. Because when he laces up, you can't laugh at him anymore. Because he's going to beat you. Like he's going to go, or maybe not beat you, but he's going to go and hoop on your team. That's why he's not looked at as comical. The minute Kyrie stops hooping and stops being that asset to the NBA, then he's probably going to be looked at as comical.
The thing that makes Kyrie a bizarre player to look at, person to look at outside his basketball career, is like he's done actually some like really cool stuff. Like he like paid for like water in like this like remote village in like Afghanistan.
What did he do for the WNBA? He did something for the WNBA, some donation.
I didn't hear.
He did something.
He does so, but those aren't the things that are influenced. He doesn't. Those aren't the things that he should define himself by. Those actions, but instead he's like taken like it's other like Kyrie defenders on Twitter tweeting all the good stuff. Like Kyrie should make that. Yeah, that should be Kyrie's like calling card.
but on the other,
not his weirdo theories. But
on the other side of the coin, you can't just take a look at what someone says. You have to also take a look at their actions. He could say the earth is flat. He could say, I don't, which also him not believing in getting vaccinated shouldn't make him a buffoon. That's a belief. Whatever you, if you disagree with it or agree with it is one thing, but that's just a belief. Like, I don't think that should castrate you.
There are dumb beliefs.
Right.
That's a, you can go that belief.
But it hurting his basketball team is where maybe you can have a disagreement with it. But him not wanting to get the vax, I don't think should castrate him. But when you look at his actions and the person that Kyrie Irving is, he's a great person. Like if you're down with his cause, if you're a good person to him, like he takes care of his family, takes care of the people that he thinks needs to be taken care of. Like he's a really good person. He had this whole like spiritual awakening when he went back home to his to the country where his family is from in Africa. Went and did a kind of a mission trip sort of thing. Really got in touch with his spirituality and then kind of realized what matters to him the most. And when he came back, like things were different. He cut his hair. He stopped like just letting his hair grow out. He got really like back into basketball, got like, got his confidence back. That's what he called LeBron and was like, hey man, I realize what you're trying to say to me now. Like he really kind of looked inward, but then in that same time, he realized that people who don't matter. So if I piss you off, but you're random Joe Schmo in Indiana, you're going to stay random Joe Schmo in Indiana. Even the media. Like, if the media don't control me, then, like, I have power over myself and what I do. And he's just not letting that happen.
I'm just going to play a devil's advocate game really quick because it's impossible to know intentions. But if I was a really bad guy with a lot of money, I'd do a lot of good with the money because it means nothing to me because I can get it back quickly. As like a PR tool to protect me from the bad stuff.
But you just said he doesn't publicize all the stuff that he does, so it's not a PR tool.
Yeah, I know, but I think it's about how he feels about himself in a way. I think he's the only PR that matters to him. So
my point exactly.
Honestly, I don't get the guy.
And sometimes that's where you got to land. Like sometimes that's where you got to land to protect yourself. Because if you try to figure out Kyrie at his every move, you're going to really hurt yourself, man. Your brain's going to hurt. So sometimes if he's not doing no harm, like if he's in the TD.
Well, but he is doing harm by spreading these beliefs.
The beliefs is bad. And I told you every time we come back to it, I condemn that. I don't agree with that. But if he gets to the TD Garden 2 hours before everyone else does and starts saging the garden,
I don't care.
Let him do it.
No, I have zero problem with that.
Let him do it.
Zero problem. As long as the sage doesn't stink up the arena, and I'm a fan.
That's why I got there so early. It's like ventilate and get it out. Like I don't want to stick up the arena, but like I know how it get in here. So let me cleanse the aura real quick. You know what I mean? Let him do it. The last one will end on a good note for you. Jason McCourty on Good Morning Football said this about Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts has been the best quarterback in the NFC this season. Had to stop at NFC because that bad man Pat Mahomes is in the AFC. But Jason McCourty said this on Good Morning Football about QB1 in Philly, Jalen Hurts. Because his team is 4-0. Sure, he's speaking facts. Because if he had the same record as the Packers, probably not.
He's not been the best quarterback in the NFC.
Oh, good. You were even harsher than me. Good. I'm glad.
I'm really encouraged by what Hurts has played, how Hurts has played. I'm more encouraged about how he's fit within the offense that has helped him succeed. But like, if you just look at like DVOA, if you take like, he's like seventh in the NFL. The NFC quarterbacks ahead of him are funnily Geno Smith, Cooper Rush.
Hello.
And he's basically tied with Jared Goff.
Hello.
It's kind of funny.
How about those NFC quarterbacks?
And then Brady's below Garoppolo, which is really
which he's not even playing great either. He's not even playing great either.
it's kind of funny like that. But like Jalen Hurts is having a very good season. Like if I had just out of pure quarterback talent, I'm taking like for the rest of the season. If I could pick a quarterback, I'd take Rodgers because I'm not silly.
Right,
and he's a back-to-back MVP. Like I love how Hurts is playing this year. I'm really encouraged about like the future and like the Tom Brady's in the conference, and I know he has like a rotator cuff issue, and he's like
Aaron Rodgers is in the conference.
It's just like
Stafford, Matt Stafford, Matt Stafford.
Like I really like Jalen Hurts, but let's pump the brakes a little bit. Let's see how he does, and let's check back in like 4 weeks.
Yeah, week 8, 9. Yeah, well, we have a lot
mid-season
of
poll.
So what Jason McCourty just fell victim to, or put it this way, what Jalen Hurts just benefited from is the opposite of what happens when you're the quarterback of a losing team. When you're the quarterback of the best team in the NFL, you get all the praise, right? Look at you. You're commanding the best offense or the best team in the NFL, so you're the best quarterback in the conference. But if he was still putting up kind of the same numbers, but the Eagles were 0-4, you'd be calling for Jalen Hurts' head. Not you in particular, but Eagles fans would be calling for Jalen Hurts' head. So this just shows the importance of the quarterback position in the NFL. Because, like, that's the only reason he's saying this is because the Eagles are undefeated. If the Eagles were 2-2, no utterance of this.
Exactly. That's why no one's saying Geno Smith is the best.
You mean?
And Geno Smith has really good stats this year so far.
No one's saying about Jared Goff. Like, Jared Goff, actually has one of the best stats in the NFC, but his team's 1-3. So no one's saying that about him. So, hey, good for Jalen Hurts. But I think no one is giving as much props, maybe nationally, probably inside the Eagles fandom you guys are, but to the job that Nick Sirianni has done, putting the pieces of this up. He's got a new big piece of his offense for the past 3 years. Jalen Hurts, then Devontae Smith, then A.J. Brown. For what it's worth, Dallas Goedert too, moving up in the tight end status. That's not easy to get all these big pieces and plug and chug away and now have the best team in the league. Like that's,
what was great to see last week from Sirianni is like we were down 14-0. And Sirianni basically said, okay, it's raining. Like pass game isn't going to work much, so let's just run last year's offense. It was like the run game first, ground and pound option with like short little passes, tight end screens, and then Devontae Smith slants and AJ Brown because he's there. You can throw to him whatever he wants to do.
Yeah,
and that turned around the game, and we outscored them 29-7 the rest of the way. And like that quick thinking of like adjustments to make yourself win. Like everyone's worried about like a trap game for the Eagles. Like we had the trap game last week, and it was like only a trap quarter.
That's true. A little early to be a trap game, but you could be reading the press clippings a little bit and be looking ahead to teams in the future. All right, we're almost out of time for this episode of Straight Facts. It was a great one back in Brownstone Media in Pottstown. My guy Stat Matt, you got something to say at the buzzer?
Do you want to do yours? Because I know yours is gonna be.
You want me to do mine?
Because I might do the same thing. I don't.
Okay, my I'll go first. I never go first. I'll go first this time. For those of you watching. You see that me and Stat Matt got the Phillies jerseys on. 2 Phillies fans here. If Jake was here, he's a third one. He would still have a Phillies gear on too. Another Phillies fan. I am ecstatic. Like I really actually can't tell you how happy I am that the Phillies clinched that final wild card spot. It's Red October again. We're going to the postseason. We deserve to soak in the moment. We deserve to be happy for our squad. We deserve to be encouraged for them. But Matt, if you remember way back when, March, April time, a certain team named the Minnesota Timberwolves won a playing game and partied like it was 1999. Couldn't get enough of it. And I was not happy. I said they partied too much. Now, fast forward to October, my team claws their way into the playoffs. Hold on for dear life to get into the playoffs. Shouldn't have been this hard. And we're popping champagne. And we got beer showers, and we're jumping up and down on the mound in Houston. Then we come out the next night hungover, sluggish, damn near getting no hit, get 3 hit in the game. Now we're about to lose again.
We got 2 runs.
It's 3-2, so maybe we won't lose, but it's 3-2.
No, it's game over.
Oh, game is over, so we lost 3-2. Doesn't matter, but still. So my point is that you can call me a Negadelphian if you want. But to me, clinching a playoff berth and then getting embarrassed the next night does not make me encouraged for going and playing St. Louis on Friday. It doesn't. I don't like these last two showings from the Phillies after clinching the wild card berth because the job is not done. Like, it's not.
Yeah, but there's no job to play for the last 2 games.
Okay, but you got to go and play the playoffs, man. We can go get our butts kicked on Friday, and now, like I said about the Wolves, we can go get our butts kicked for 2 games, and now no one feel like. Are you gonna feel good if they get?
My point is
they lose 10-0 and then 8-0 to the Cardinals and go home. You won't feel good.
I think the celebration has no bearing on what the outcome of the Cardinals series.
You can't tell me they weren't. You can't tell me that they weren't. Maybe not hungover, but tired.
They didn't play the Cardinals last night, though. They played an Astros team that clinched everything, and we had clinched and we wanted to lose because we didn't want to pass San Diego.
We didn't want to play that. That's very true.
This is a team, you said, like, it shouldn't have been this hard. Like, yes and no. Like, the team's better than they played for September, but this is a team that was 21-29. I buried them on the podcast. Like, why would you ever get your expectations up for the Phillies? They fired their manager. Everything turned around. And then the MVP gets hurt, and he's out for like a month and a half.
But they had a winning record without him.
And then they still persevere without him. Then, like, they have not a great September. Kyle Gibson can't throw the ball anymore, which is why 9.7 ERA. But they made the playoffs. They did their job. They were never going to – if everything went great for the Phillies this year, they win 96 games. They still don't win the division because the division is the best division in baseball. Yeah, so we got to appreciate this. And the Timberwolves, like, pushed the Grizzlies to 6, and they, like, put up a good fight. Like, they choked in some games, but that wasn't because they celebrated beating the Clippers. I don't think that
no, but my point still stands.
But them celebrating didn't hurt them in the next round.
My point still stands.
So as long as it doesn't hurt you in the next round, which I don't think it will, I'm fine with them celebrating.
I'm fine with them.
Gene Segura has never played in a playoff game before, and he's played for 7 years.
Well, good for him. Great job. Great job.
Zach Wheeler was hurt the 2 years the Mets made the playoffs. He's never pitched in the playoffs.
I'm happy for. He's probably going to pitch game 1.
Reese Hoskins.
I'm happy for. Yo, I got my Phillies jersey on, man. Like, I'm happy for them. Champagne, beer showers. They coated the Astros locker room in saran wrap because that's how hard they were celebrating.
It was Monday night. They play a game that they don't play another game that matters till Friday. They're fine.
Just don't.
Ranger was definitely hungover last night.
Gene was. You see the videos of Gene in the locker room? Can't tell me.
No, I didn't watch any of the game yesterday. I just saw the box score and I saw Ranger Suarez 3 innings, 6 earned. He was not.
Well, okay, well, you can't tell me if you see the videos of Gene Segura celebrating in the locker room, you can't tell me that brother didn't wake up hungover today. You just can't tell me that man was sauced. Don't celebrate your first downs like touchdowns.
This was a.
There's not a touchdown.
No, but they won. They won a game to make the playoffs.
It's not a touchdown. That's not a touchdown. It's the first down. A big first down, maybe a third and 10 conversion or something like that. Cool. Not a touchdown.
The Phillies are the losingest franchise in sports in North American sports history.
It's a crazy because they're like one of the oldest. They're like the oldest franchise in America, like one of the oldest franchises.
They've been around since 1883. They've made the postseason 15 times.
That's why they're quote unquote the losing is.
No, but they've been so bad for so long. They never are good. My dad's born in the perfect era. He saw the 70s, the 80s run, and the Cole Hamels, Utley Rollins, Howard run. And now this, and it's 93 too. But it's so rare that the Phillies are good. The Phillies are always bad, just historically. They're just really bad all the time. They made the World Series in 93. They didn't make the playoffs another 14 years. They have a really good 5-year run. Then they don't make the playoffs for another 11 years. This is a drought-stricken team. Perpetually got to celebrate and be happy when there's things to celebrate. No. And this was a thing to celebrate.
It's a thing to be happy about.
And it's not like they clinched the playoffs with an 81-81 record. 87 is a legit amount of wins in a season.
Yeah, 3 off of 90. Yeah. Ball bounces a different way. A couple of games, you're a 90-win team. People think about you in a much different
Braves
way.
won 88 last year and won the World Series.
And you also have to remember that they're in division with the Braves and the Mets. And, for what it's worth, the freaking Marlins who...
Yeah, we also get 1 million wins off the Nationals.
Yeah. But the Marlins who are giant, not just the Phillies giant killers.
shout out Marlins for beating the Brewers.
Hey, big. Love y'all. What the Phillies bio say, Marlins Stan account. Love y'all. Thank you, them. All right. We're out of time for this episode of Straight Facts. Shout out to everybody on the Up On Game Presents Network. Make sure that you guys are following them wherever you get your podcast, Spotify, Apple. We love them over there. Shout out to everyone on the Up On Game Presents Network. And shout out to my guy, Stat Matt Robinson. And for Jake Galley out there, I'm James Jackson. These have been the facts.
Straight up.